Hey, what's up guys? So in this video, I want to go over the options as far as external displays for the V1. As you can see right here, we have a couple different displays. We've got the Valentine One itself, we have the concealed display right here, and then we have a phone right over here running V1. So we've got a couple different options as far as having additional displays, more information, maybe putting things in different spots in your car to make it more convenient. And in this video, we're going to be going over basically two things. Number one, what are the different options and what are the benefits and which ones should you or maybe shouldn't you use? And then number two, how do you actually wire this up to make it happen? So let's kind of go over how all this works. So to start us off, what are the benefits, first of all, of having a concealed display? Well, if you look in my car, I run my V1 up high and I never actually look at it. I get great radar detection performance up there, but I put my concealed display on my dash, and I love having the placement there because I'm able to look straight ahead at the road and I can see everything the detector is doing without having to look up at the detector. It's right in my field of view, it's right in my line of sight, and I don't have to take my eyes off the road. Additionally, if I have somebody else in my car, and maybe they get annoyed by all the beeps and everything from the radar detector, I can actually turn the volume down on my V1 and I can watch everything right on the detector. I can see the arrows, I can see the signal strength, how many signals I'm getting. I can pick up everything visually without relying on the audio at all, and that I find super, super helpful. With the phone basically can do everything the concealed display can do and more. So the information will pop up on the phone, all the same information, how many signals you're getting, signal strength, arrows, plus some other additional stuff like the frequency, and you actually are able to control the V1. So very, very handy. They do kind of do double duty. The phone and the concealed display basically do the same thing, except the concealed display is smaller and the phone can do more. So do you need to run both? Not necessarily. It might be a little bit unnecessary and a little overkill to run two concealed displays. You can do it, of course, it's not a big deal, and I'll show you how to wire it up in a second, but you may not necessarily need to do it. The reason that I do it is quite honestly just because I'm taking radar detectors in and out of the car all the time, and sometimes I just forget my Android phone, and if that's the case, or I maybe don't want to put it up, I'll just run with just the concealed display, and that works well. I'm not going to get the features of the Android like lockouts and all that kind of stuff, but for just a quick drive, it's nice to have the display right there and I can watch everything. Now, currently, I don't really need the concealed display anymore. It was useful originally back when V1 first came out, and there was an issue where there was a bit of a lag over Bluetooth, where when the V1 received the signal, it took a second or two for that signal to be transmitted over Bluetooth over to the phone, and then finally be processed by the phone and be displayed on screen. So while the V1 would alert immediately, it would take a second or two to alert on the phone, and I didn't really like that display. I like everything happening immediately. So for that reason, I like the fact that the concealed display would show the alerts immediately, and then after a second or two, the alerts would then show up on the phone. So I kind of had the best of both worlds of immediate information plus all the information with a bit of a time lag. Now that things have been improved, it's virtually immediate. If you take a look at it, you'll see almost everything pops up at once. So yes, the Bluetooth module in the phone is a hair slower than the V1 and the concealed display itself, but it's not a lot. So as soon as it's going off, you can look at both and bam, all the information is right there. So I'm not really as dependent on the concealed display anymore for the immediate alerts. And that's just kind of my own personal preference. I like having everything go immediate, Again, just my personal preference, but it's not like a make or break huge deal or anything. So that's why I run both. You don't necessarily need to, and it just winds up being more clutter and wiring once you're getting everything installed. So it's probably best just to pick either or, but as you can see, you do have the option of running both of them if you so desire. So with that said, let's actually take a look at how the wiring is done to run, multiple devices. Now, if you look at most standard power cables, they're very, very simple. Here's an S-Cord smart cord. It's basically just a power cable that goes into your cigarette lighter and one power output, which then plugs into your radar detector, right? So very simple, no options to split anything or plug in any accessories. We can contrast that now with the V1 power cable. You'll notice we also have our cigarette lighter plug, but we have now two places to plug in different devices. This one that says main, this is designed for your V1. Your V1 plugs into here, and then if you have an accessory, you plug it into the ACC port. That can be a concealed display or it can be a Bluetooth module. So whether you have a cigarette lighter or you have like a hardwired module or Savvy or something, they all have these two ports. So you can plug in the V1 and an accessory. Now, what happens if you want to plug in a third device, like if you want to do a concealed display and a Bluetooth module? Very simple. What you're going to need is a splitter like this. This is one that I bought in Radio Shack for a couple bucks. And basically what it does is you can see I've got two inputs here and one output there. And the idea is you just look for the accessory port, you plug the splitter in, and now you have room for two different devices. So you'll do the maybe the Bluetooth module on one and the concealed display on the other. And that's really the trick to doing it. One thing to keep in mind about getting a splitter is you do want to make sure that it has 4 pins for all the different, plugs and ports and whatnot. And the reason is every single device here, if you take a look at the V1 itself, they all have 4 pins. See that? So if you have one that only has 2 pins, and some splitters only have 2 per port, it's not going to work properly. And so if you're looking for one, I'll link you to one that should work if you just want to pick one up, super easy. But if you're going to the store or wherever, make sure you get one that has 4 pins here on the inputs as well as on the output. And a good trick of something to look for is look for a splitter that supports not one phone line, but 2. The way the phone lines work, you have 2 pins per line, so one's transmit and one is receive. They're on separate wires, and so 2 pins is one phone line. If you want 2 phone lines, you're going to have 4 pins. So transmit, receive, transmit, receive. So that's kind of what these were originally built for. If you want to kind of do double duty with your V1 and have it be a splitter, you'll make sure you want to get 2 ports like this and also 2 phone lines, not just one. So that's the trick to wiring it up with both a Bluetooth module and a concealed display at the same time. Again, it's not necessary, and you probably don't even need to do it, but if you're interested in doing it, that's how it's done.